Hey everybody, I'm Pierce, and I am so stoked to be with all of you at Agent Sessions Day. I lead the PM team here on VS Code and GitHub Copilot. And who am I joined with?
My name is Pen. I'm an engineer manager on VS Code team. And my team mostly works on notebook, search, remote, and very recently, agents integration into VS Code.
Awesome. So to kick off Agent Sessions Day, one thing we really thought would be cool is, obviously on the VS Code team, we're using AI to build the product, right? That's kind of self-evident to like all the features we're building, our velocity is speeding up more than ever. But there's also a lot of adjacent tasks that as developers, PMs, designers on the team, we use AI for every single day, right? Mm-hmm. Because of the velocity of the team, we've created new problems for ourselves, right? And so we thought it'd be really cool to show you not just like how we're using AI to speed up feature development inside of VS Code, but also all the tasks around our day-to-day inside of VS Code. So Peng is probably the most AI-forward person we have on the team, kind of exploring these workflows. And so we brought him along to kind of show off some of his workflows that he does every single day.
Right, and to be honest, this is just like 5% of how everyone in this team work, using agents. And we just get a sneak peek into that for today.
Okay, so what are you going to be showing off first?
So first, quick question. Are you a morning person?
No.
But in our team, we have to, right?
We got to start early.
Right, we have the other half in Zurich, Switzerland.
Yep.
So we also wake up early while I'm having my morning coffee. First thing I do is come back to VS Code and update VS Code Insiders. And first of all, right, we build this nightly build of VS Code from main branch every day, so we can always use our own products, right? Very up to date to build the product itself. That's what I always do first. And the next thing, which is what I always do, I always come back to my Obsidian, which is a note-taking app, but I open that in VS Code. And then first thing I do will run this custom agent, the one I customize for myself, to check the top priorities for the day. As you can see here, since Obsidian is everything, or you can use whatever note-taking app you use, right? It's all file-based. It will look like my journals. Mm-hmm. Checking my calendar using WorkIQ, which is fetch all the meetings I have. And here's the priorities suggest me for today.
Got a lot of meetings today, man.
Yeah, but it's telling me that I have 3 conflicting ones, and I'm in this most important one, which is Agent Sessions Day, right? And then, right now we ship, VS Code Insiders on a daily basis.
Yep.
But also we ship VS Code Stable weekly. That's why, we meet managers, right? Our leaders meet every week to talk about the weekly goals. And then we have a few interesting AI self-hosting sessions where everyone can show how they embed AI into their work, right?
Yep.
And as you can see here, these my custom agents give me suggestions. Something you have to do by myself, right? Go to this live session. But then a few ones, while you're working on some of the planning, the meetings, you can kick off a few tasks to the background using either background agents, which is backed by Worktree, or using cloud agents. So this is the ones where you are doing other stuff, then you're kicking off, running them in the background, using parallel, tasks as much as possible. Right?
So what's you're a manager, right? So you have one-on-ones, you have meetings, as we just saw. So what's typically your workflow? I mean, I know you're pushing a ton of code yourself. Like, do you just have a dedicated workflow at the end of the day where you're pushing this, or kind of throughout the day in between meetings, or are you pushing code?
So I always begin, at the very beginning of the day, and I'm using these custom agents to look at issues, right? The issues assigned to me and the issues assigned to my team. So I know how much I should prepare when I'm meeting, my team members. But also for the ones assigned to me, and as managing the team, you also write a lot of code, right?
Oh,
and you have to experience your own product, right?
Yeah.
So then I will kick off multiple of them. Some of them in the background using Worktree, some of them just go to Copilot coding agents. Yep. They all run in the cloud. And then when I come back from meetings, then I will give them a check out them locally, do some verification, then merge.
Yeah. That's a really cool thing. Like, I feel like there's like this famous article, I think it was Paul Graham, it was like the maker and manager schedule, and it was like they're incompatible with each other. But like I agree with you, like the really cool thing about AI is like, especially for like, the types of things we work on, in between meetings, I'll be like, oh, like, someone in the meeting literally mentioned this thing, we need to go do it. And like, I'll just fire off like 3 or 4 agents before I go to the next meeting. And of course, they'll be done at some point during the meeting, but you really can get like a lot of stuff done. But I have had to come up with some excuses, Peng, because usually like, okay, the meeting ends, and then someone's gonna talk for way too long. It's not gonna end on time. And then the next meeting starts, I have to make up an excuse because I have to go review my agents. I have to be like, I need to see what's going on. Oh, I need to go to the bathroom. I need some water. But what I'm actually doing, going and looking at my agents, prompting again, kicking them off again before my next meeting.
Right, and also it's like a habit you need to develop now, right?
Yeah.
Because previously you're always working things in sequence.
Yep.
But now you are empowered of doing things in parallel.
Yep.
Right? You have to build this habit of, okay, while you're waiting for one session to run,
Yep.
you quickly kick off a few.
And in
others.
VS Code, you can run multiple sessions at once. So if you have like
Right.
multiple thoughts, you don't have to block on waiting
Right.
for the agent to be done.
And for me, the other habit change is previously, in the meetings, I write down notes.
Mm-hmm.
Now sometimes I don't write down notes anymore. It's kicking off the agents directly. Because previously you have notes and then turn them into issues.
Yep.
And then someone else or you will pick up that later.
Yep.
Now it goes to the very end, which, let's just execute, right, to see how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially if you have like the Work IQ MCP, you have Teams recordings on, you have the whole transcript, right?
Right.
So like, I know the problem for me is like, I'll like make a terrible note and be like, I need to do this thing, and then I like don't remember any of the details. But if you're recording all the meetings and things like that, it's captured with Work IQ. To your point, you can use that to create issues.
Right.
So you can really like automate yourself in that way.
Mm-hmm. But then it comes with a unique challenge, right? Because now everyone is doing the same.
Yep.
And usually when you wake up in the morning, the next thing you want to know is what has been pushed into the VS Code branch.
Makes sense.
So that's what I always do. Let me quickly switch to the VS Code repo. And I have this custom / command or skill, which is fetching all the commits for the last 24 hours and summarize them. Here I'm using like a BYOK model, which is pretty fast, and summarize all the crazy changes from the team, right?
So this prompt is just basically going and getting like all the commits that happened against VS Code and VS Code Copilot chat in the last 24 hours and summarizing for you here.
That's right. Previously you don't, predates AI, you probably don't have to do that.
No.
You could do a git fetch, you have 20 commits or 30. Now you just come back to your computer, there's another 100 commits waiting for you. And we do see a boost of shipping velocity, right, from the team when everyone is now empowered by agents. And I don't think we are 400% there yet, right? And I can probably foresee another 2 to 3 times.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Like I feel like, I obviously feel like we're really good at adopting AI, but there's always more we can do. And we'll talk about it, but like it's the velocity of the team is already way more than it used to be. And so, yeah, like even just to your point, okay, we have an update. What's going to be in this update? Like even just grokking that, like day to day, it used to be like, oh, maybe there's like a nice tweak. Now it's like, oh, an entire feature area could land in one of these updates day to day because of the velocity of the team.
Right, and also it's not just only engineers sending those PRs and pushing changes, right? I do the same about PM's teams and designers as well. And also, for us to self-host all our own products, I don't always spend my time in VS Code, even though it's like most of my time.
Yep.
But sometimes I will use a few our experimental projects like Conduct, which is our experiments for it's a terminal app for you to managing agent sessions.
Yep.
So I go to these tools from time to time, and here I'm using Copilot CLI in Conduct, right? But let's quickly go back to VS Code again. Usually now we see a boost of velocity of commits. And the issue come with that is also more issues, right? So we built a few prompts / commands to help us group issues, which I can quickly show while we have a few here in this repo, issue grooming. And you can use the / commands also to find duplicates as well.
Nice.
That's for engineers who want to stay inside their IDE or editor, right? But there's another way to do it, which I can quickly show. And we built up some bots to auto-triage our issues. And in the early days, we have this dedicated role called inbox tracker. Whenever there's a new issue, and this inbox tracker for that week is a rotation, and they will look at issue and design which owner should be assigned to, right?
Okay.
But quickly, when VS Code becomes one of the most popular repo on GitHub.com, it doesn't really scale, right?
No.
Every day you got hundreds or 200 issues, it cannot do by a human. So we start to build tools to automate some of the process, right? And initially we put our own model, right? A machine learning model to do the auto-triaging, but now it's all based on agents using Copilot CLI and Copilot Agent SDK. As you can see here, every time when there's a new issue, the bot will kick off agent loop to figure out, hey, it is a duplicate. who is the right owner, since our ownership sometimes change, right? And what is the right label to
So how is
have.
it determining something like the owner for a particular piece of code?
So we'll read your instructions for what's the ownership,
Okay.
and also look at, based on the past, issue assignment, right? Who is the real owner? Because previously you can say, hey, this person contribute this particular component,
Yeah.
but later on they hand off to the other person. And they
Well,
can
now it's messy too, because like people can easily contribute to others' areas without, as much understanding of that. Before, I feel like if I wanted to contribute to your area, like you own that area and you knew that area better than me, and it was sometimes hard for me to PR your area, but now with agents, it's easy for me to PR your area. So the ownership kind of breaks down a little bit too.
Right, but for that you do need like some harness, right, to making sure that you can welcome other people to contribute to your
Yep.
component. And
Yep.
I agree with you, like the ownership is a little bit loose here, right?
Yep.
And also sometimes like, that piece of code is written by Copilot, right, who is the right owner for it. I would say still it's us engineers who are accountable for the outcome
Agreed.
of those code, right? And I can quickly go to another one. Well, this Cloud Code crash, and you can see here, it gives me suggestions for duplicates, and also with confidence score, right? This one's uncertain, right?
Okay, so we talked about some of the bot for ownership and stuff like that, but what's this UI you're showing me on the right? Is
So
this like
what
a
I'm
custom
showing
Chrome
here is-
extension or something?
Right, so we have the bot running on GitHub Actions. Every time when there's issue, kick off this task to do the suggestions. And then we have this Chrome extension our team built, right, to insert this custom widget. Looks pretty native, right, on GitHub.com.
It does, yeah. Looks great.
But it's giving you suggestions. Yeah, duplicate suggestions, right owners, and also a few label suggestions as well. And also this Chrome extension also comes with a dashboard to show, hey, what is the overall status of your issues, of the team's issues. As you can see here, right now I have 600 and almost like $300. I need to have a little catch up to do, right?
Got to kick off some more agents, man.
That's right, and maybe I should be able to kick off sessions or just directly from here.
That'd be
right?
cool.
And also like the housekeeping issue were all our issues, right? And it's kind of massive, right? I would say it's a little bit challenging right now already for open source projects. Well,
Definitely.
But it's a good thing, right?
Yep.
More people contribute to your repo, more people contribute issues to your repo, but then you need to build up tools.
Yeah, I mean, the velocity, like, it was already pre-AI, like this, we're one of the world's largest open source projects, right? And we love our community, and we're also building a lot of things, and to your point, all that velocity also creates issues. And then, like, I think it's super cool that the team has basically been like, well, how do we stay alive, really? Like, you could drown in all these issues if you didn't build this sort of tooling. You'd be spending all your time doing triage on GitHub.com.
Yeah, so I mean, this is like for me as an engineer, right, or engineer manager, how I'm taking care of the issues. How do I start my day, right? So can you elaborate a little bit? What is like from PM side?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of interesting because I think for PM, I was just talking to Courtney, and we'll have like a dedicated video coming on the VS Code YouTube channel about this. But like, I feel like the traditional role definitions are kind of collapsing. Like, of course, we're all accountable for certain things still, ultimately, right? But like, I would say like traditionally, like I felt like I always had the product mindset, and of course, I could be an engineer, maybe not a level equivalent engineer on your team, but I feel like I could be an engineer. And so my job is like the what and the why, and like focusing on the feedback and prioritizing the different things we do. And so like I always thought I had like the product mindset, right? But like what was always hard for me is like, how do I translate that product thinking into action? And I think typically for PMs, we write these long docs, specs, PRDs, whatever it is in the organization you're in. And that's kind of like no one read those, no one liked that. And there were so many problems, right? Like you would write this doc and you would say like, we need to add this feature to VS Code. And the funny thing about that is like, you don't actually know, right? Like it's not all hypothetical. You're just writing a doc, right? But the really cool thing with AI is like, actually, like I think the thing that is kind of changing is like now the like equivalent of the doc is a prototype. It's a PR to one of you. And so then to your point about self-hosting, okay, we need to add, someone on Twitter or social media is giving us feedback like, I really want to fork conversations. Okay, I can go write an issue for this, of course. Or I can go use agent mode in VS Code. I can start building out that feature. I can have a build of VS Code that I am self-hosting with, using every day, and saying, oh, I don't quite like this part of the experience. I want to change that. And so then kind of by using the product, you're also sharpening your spec, which in this case is the prototype, right?
Right.
And then eventually we get to the point, okay, I send you PR. And that could be totally thrown away. That's fine with me. Like, I totally recognize you're accountable for the code quality, right? That's something you're accountable for, even though I can contribute to your code. So you can say, I don't feel comfortable with this change. Like, you didn't architect this the right way. And I would say, like, generally I do want things to go in the direction of, like, you would feel more comfortable with my change, but, like, it's kind of a non-goal right now. It's more, I want to send you the PR. In some cases, it's like, we can merge this. Like, I had one last week that was so simple, we just merged. And then yesterday we were talking about, like, fork conversation as that example. I sent a PR. There was a couple things, like one of the engineers, Justin, who works in this area, gave me his feedback. Okay, we worked through it together yesterday in the office, like a couple lines of change in CSS, and we actually merged my PR. It's in VS Code. And so I feel like that's drastic. That whole loop has drastically changed, because before I would have just written docs and created issues for you, and then, but now, like, I'm empowered as a PM to actually go and explore concepts that I think are interesting.
Right. Previously, we always say for VS Code, we use GitHub issues as the main funnel or our, for the feedbacks, right?
Yep.
And whether you're working, as an external user or you work internally as, Microsoft employee or GitHub employee, we always say, hey, please find an issue on GitHub so others can follow along and contribute to. And that's how we say, hey, this is like zero distance with our users.
Yep.
But now, the feedback can come from, all different platforms, right?
Yes.
You can have from Reddit, you can have from Max, and then when any engineer or PM chime in those threads, the users do appreciate that when they have a feedback and you give them, hey, here's a prototype or PR, right, to see whether it works or not. And that's a good validation of, is the code base kind of like AI or agent ready?
That's right.
Like if you throw that to an agent, can they find the right components? Can they find the regressions? Can they find the right fix for it, right? That's the first step. And then the next step is we're giving that PR to engineers or owners of that component in the team, so they can do a review. But the first PR is like moving the needle and as a conversation starters, right? If it's possible or not, right?
Yeah. Well, and especially now with AI, like we're planning weekly, in some cases daily. We're talking about like what we should be doing today. What is the most important thing we should do? And like with the cycle times collapsing as well, I feel like you don't have as much time to really, like, almost the worst thing you can do is to argue about the right thing to do. Like, it's actually better to just do something, ship, even if that's just to the team, learn, okay, this was the wrong thing, this was the right thing, then you move on, versus like maybe in the old days, like you'd spend weeks or months debating an approach. Now if you spend weeks or months debating something, the world has left you behind, right?
Right. And also, I can quickly show that whenever I personally get a PR from any other member, but that's for my own areas, right? How do I know if it worked, right?
Right.
And what I would do is using there's a MCP server, but also we have a / command called demonstrate. Oh, maybe it's a custom agent. Yeah, it's custom agent. It's maybe not here, but let me.
Is it in VS Code or VS Code Copilot chat?
It's in VS Code. We have custom agents
there it
called
is.
Demonstrate, right? And this one, what it does is it can launch VS Code OSS and using Playwright MCP server to test the.
Because it's just a web app, because it's Electron,
It's a web app, right? And we make contributions to it to making sure it works for the multiple windows, which is our unique architecture, right? Compared to a normal browser tab. And this one can then validate the changes, so as part of the validation process. Not just the code review part, but
really
also the full validation, right? Once I have the issue, which is kind of the spec, and then we want to validate all by the agents whether this thing can work or not.
So that's kind of like the thing we were saying about like parallelizing yourself. That's a hard word. Is the challenge? I mean, when you're kicking off multiple things at once, is like actually making sure. Of course, the agent will do the correctness loop on making sure, okay, does it compile? Is there any linting issues? But like really, like actually, say you're really leaning into agents, you have 5-10 agents. Suddenly, like this flow we were talking about, jumping in between meetings and reviewing things, this actually making sure that the agent really did what you want from a customer experience perspective is quite expensive. And so this is really cool. So this is basically like launching VS Code, looking at what I wanted, actually literally navigating in VS Code, taking screenshots, recording UI, and then because it's operating in an agent, right, that's a feedback loop. So if something's wrong, then it's actually going and fixing it, right?
Correct. And also it will take screenshots, like you said, right, of the key moments.
Yep.
And then you can review them right at the very end as a way for human to engage and validate.
Yeah, and I mean, something that I'm kind of interested, we're not there yet. Like this is every single day we're like, how can we be better here? And we're always exploring, but like the whole demonstrate flow, like from a PM perspective, like because the team is moving so fast, like, okay, we talk about feedback, turning that into things. The other part of my role is going and educating our community on like all the awesome work that our engineering team is doing. And it's expensive for me, one, to keep up with what you're doing, but also to build all these demos. And so we've been kind of also exploring like, is there ways that we can use things like Playwright to basically like auto-record demos and things like that. And it's not quite there because you get weird pauses and things like that because of the agent loop and things like that. But you know, that is the future, right? Is like then, okay, we can build like a video we could tweet out based off a feature you do. And that could just be attached to your PR, right?
Yeah, I mean, then coming back to the first slash commands I showed, right, which is, looking at the last commits of the last 24 hours. And you can imagine that we have the similar, I'm pretty sure quite a few engineers in the team, they do the same, which is look at the commits and analyze whether there are any regressions from the last 24-hour commits, right? And also, it's not a single repo, it's multiple repos, right? VS Code, Copilot chat, and cross-check, okay, does this one invalidate the other change or fix? And also, once we can embed, which we don't have this yet, right? But we can put demonstrate into this pipeline where I can take recordings and give you a summary, visually what has been changed for the last day, which can use that as a content for our insider changelog, right?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, so that's actually a good shout out. So we have our insiders changelog. So this is new. Like before it was like, if you're running insiders, which is our daily build of VS Code, you're like, I don't know what's in this thing unless you're running a command like this, right? But Nick, on our content team, he basically wrote the docs version of this prompt, right? Which is going and looking at the history. There's some stuff to make sure it's like notable, something we'd actually want to call out in release notes. And that's how we built basically AI automation for our release notes, right? And to your point, like you can imagine there being screenshots or videos or like, here, you should try it this way. Like that's like where we could go. Right now it's very simple because it's just looking at all the merge stuff and figuring out stuff. But like even that is so powerful because we also now have a Twitter account that uses that same RSS feed that's built from AI automation to tweet out, here's what's new in VS Code today. Right?
And all of these are built on top of the same pipeline, which is using Copilot CLI and Copilot Agent SDK running on GitHub Action. It the multiple triggers, right? When issue is open, when a commit is pushed into the main branch of VS Code and Copilot chat, right? It automatically runs and summarizes it, sending new PRs. But then quickly we run into this, challenge of, hey, we have a lot of PRs come into VS Code, and we'll always say, hey, we as engineers, we do a final review of it. And here's my favorite, like really delightful feature we have, and let me see if you can see it live, which is we have a code review channel in our Slack, right? And every time when there's a new PR and when we think it's ready, it will be automatically picked up by the bot, sent to the review channel, and asking another engineer to review. And here we also show some status here, as you can see. The first one is about, hey, when there's a PR, we auto-assign Copilot to review the change. And we call it Copilot code review here, we call it CCR. But also we show the status, right? Do you, as an engineer, resolve all the comments from Copilot?
I'm sorry, I didn't resolve all the comments on a PR I sent
and
last night.
What we found like half a year ago, right? We don't have this turned on by default because sometimes it's still a bit too noisy, right? But then quickly over the last 3 months, we found the quality of comments from Copilot with the latest models, they are really good. Right?
Yeah, they are
often
good.
spot on. Then we say, hey, let's make this one part of the process. Well, automatically we assign Copilot. You as engineer, you need to resolve it. And we say, hey, if it's not resolved, we're not going to review your PR, right?
So will it go in this channel if it hasn't been totally resolved? It won't go in this channel.
It does go into this channel
Okay.
because we don't want to block you for too long, right?
I see.
It goes into the channel. We have this emoji. It will be initially like for this one. The other icon is for CI. Right?
Okay.
We can see here CI is running, and once it finishes, we'll quickly update this.
Oh, cool. So it doesn't send a new message. It updates the
We just
one.
update this one, and we know if you have 2 greens, right, and then you can hit.
And so what's the, like, as an engineer on the team, what's your responsibility for this code review channel? Like, is it just whenever you have a chance, you're going in and reviewing PRs? Like, what does that flow
Right,
look
so you
like?
send a PR, we say you give one, you take one, right? You send a PR,
Yeah.
and then you have another one to do like a security check.
Yep.
And then you can see what do you like the code smell of it, right? Anything flaw about either security or performance or code quality, we have extra eye on those.
So do you see, for some of those things, obviously, like we have human in loop now, do you see us moving towards where there's less and less human in loop for the code review, or no?
I think it boils down to, can you automate that part, right?
Right.
If you cannot automate, you will find yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you quickly say, hey, now maybe agents can do it, and then if you're not gatekeeping it, and quickly the code base, the quality of the code base will rot very quickly.
That's right.
That's what we noticed. And often we find if a new component without the right harness, and I know you have this primer, which is the checking whether the code base is AI ready or not, or agent ready or not. We find if without those, initially for the first week or 2, your productivity is really high, right?
Yeah.
And quickly reaching to a ceiling, well, you keep regressing things, and that's the moment you need good testing, unit test, integration test, and then the other one we find is really helpful is what we used to do. Predating AI, we do golden scenarios. Well, every month, by the end of it, we do TPI test items for all the features we build, but also we have golden scenarios. Well, it is a spec for what is the expected behavior.
That's right.
For this particular scenario, a common scenario, right?
Yep.
And we as engineers and PMs, and we do test that together.
Yep.
But now we do find that it's probably we can give these golden scenarios back to agents, and let the agents run through those scenarios.
Yeah, I mean,
the
that
way to
was
keep-
some automation that I'd been exploring this last month, right? Is like basically, okay, like for one of these scenarios, like it's not necessary, it's kind of, some of these scenarios are super well scoped and some are like more of a general thing, but like, okay, like I want to, something as simple as like, I want to change the model in Copilot, right? What does that scenario look like? Well, of course, there's like the functional components of like, can I literally change a model? But there's like a lot of taste elements too. Like, well, what actually do I want to know when I'm changing a model? Okay, in our model picker, quite basic, it's the model name and the multiplier. But there's probably more information I want. Like, okay, do we grade those things? And so like, basically what we had been exploring on the PM side for the scenarios is like, hey, can we also like figure out a way to like write down basically the taste that we want the experience to have, and then have the AI grade it. And we're not quite there, I don't think, for more complicated scenarios. But it is interesting just as a secondary check. It's kind of like the code review thing. It's like, okay, maybe 80% of these comments are good, 20% I ignore, right? But that 80% is still getting you pretty far, right? There's things that like you're like, oh, that is kind of true. And the other really cool thing with that automation is like you can also basically say, does the doc that we have on the VS Code website, does that actually match the lived experience when you use the tools? And all of our VS Code docs are written by one person, which is kind of crazy, like considering the pace the team is going. So we have to use a lot of automation and things like that to make sure that our docs, just like you don't want code smell in your and drift in your code, you don't want that in your docs either.
Right, and for VS Code team, our tradition is, used to be like we ship monthly, and every month we dedicate time for debt reduction, right, for 1 full week, and also 1 week for endgame testing. Right, we call them endgame, but it's like testing all the features we introduced during the month. And you don't test your own features, it's always another engineer or PM or designer, right, testing your features. Could give like actual, human touch on the stuff we are building, right? But I don't think that will go away.
No.
Even if we, the velocity of every, the commits and changes are boosted, right? A lot of things can be automated, but I still think we should, as humans, to, be in the loop.
That's right. Yeah, the developer delight. How do you quantify that? Like that is the human experience.
You have to experience it,
right?
Yeah.
And that's why it is so important. All the things you're saying, like we use insiders every day. We're self-hosting on our own stuff. Like, so yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Peng. This has been
Yes, thank
amazing. I've loved seeing like all the different workflows that the engineering team's exploring, talking a little bit about what we're doing on the PM team. I'm sure like if we were to do this conversation again in a month, everything will have changed and we'll even more automation. But it was super cool to show this off, and I know we have a lot of other great sessions coming for you for Agent Sessions Day, so stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thanks.